So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Catherine and I am a professional dog trainer. So, I'm a graduate from the Academy for Dog Trainers. I'm also a certified separation anxiety trainer and I am also fear free certified. I have been working with animals since 2015, and alongside with my experience with private clients and group classes, I worked at the Montreal SPCA and I also work with Humane Society International. So I'm just gonna let a few more people in. Great. So this is me, and this is Harlow, my dog. So Harlow is my big inspiration, hence the name Dog Inspired. So he used to hate getting his nails done. It was a big source of stress for both of us. He would actually run away when I would take out the nail clipper. So you can imagine it was just difficult. And I know a lot of you are experiencing the same thing with your dog. So, a little bit of a backstory. Harlow was a puppy when I got him, and this was before I was a dog trainer. And so I had the bright idea to clip his nails while he was sleeping. So you can imagine I startled him, and then from that day, the nail clippers became the enemy. So I didn't actually, clip his vein or hurt him. He just woke up and was like, "Oh, what are you doing to me?" And then from that day forward, nail clipper was no go. I don't know if any of you have got the advice to play with your puppy's paws while they're sleeping when they're young. Worst idea ever, and especially trying to do their nails. It's things like this can happen because we're not actively creating a positive experience for them. So it can go either way. And unfortunately for Harlow and I, it went to being negative for him. And so as his new mom, I felt like I failed him. You get a new puppy, you have all these wonderful expectations. You're going to socialize them, you're going to do all this great training so that they're just, the best dog ever. And then here I go and unintentionally scare him and create this fear in him. I felt extremely guilty. It made nail care impossible. It was a huge stress for both of us, and the dark nails. Don't even get me started on the instant anxiety that they gave me. Luckily, most of his nails are white, but there are a couple few dark ones, and it's just very awful. So, the boat that you are in right now, I've been there. And I truly understand how difficult it may be for you and your dog, and how much anxiety and stress there is when it comes to nail care. But nail care doesn't have to be a struggle. So, as I learned more about dog behavior and dog training through my courses, I realized that there was a better way. And so, it didn't have to be a struggle, it didn't have to be a lot of anxiety for Harlow and I. And so, I started training him to enjoy nail care with me. So that's a little bit of the backstory of where this comes from. So, for tonight's topics, we're going to go over reading your dog's body language and how that looks like, what that looks like in nail care. I'm going to discuss where you should start with your nail care, all depending on how your dog reacts to it. We're going to go over what tools you should use, how to create positive associations. Then I'm going to go over how to clip dark nails because I had lots of emails from a lot of people asking for this specifically, so I added that in. And then at the end, there's a live Q&A where you can ask me questions. If there's questions that come up as we're going through the presentation, please feel free to write them in the chat box, but I'm only going to answer them at the end. So no worries if I don't, if it seems like I'm ignoring you, I'm not, I see them, but we're going to keep the questions for the end. Okay. Yes, black nails, they're awful. We're going to go over that after. Okay. So dog body language and being able to read it is essential for nail care because we want our dogs to be willing participants, and therefore we need to know when they're uncomfortable. So, learning to understand and know when your dog is stressful is so important and very useful. So, a couple of signs of stress, and the more common ones are seen here on this list. Of course, there's a whole list long like this of signs of stress, but these are the most common, and these would be the easiest to see. If we're going to be start going to the nitty gritty of like frowning brows and whiskers and all that stuff, it's a little bit too complicated. So I stuck to these main ones. So ears pulled back, like in the photos of these two little dogs, they have both their ears pulled back, and this is a sign of stress. Whale eye is the bottom dog, where you see a lot of white in the eye. So this is a sign of stress. Blinking eyes when they're cowering or making themselves small, when they're looking away, licking their nose. And licking their nose is often hard to see initially because it's so fast, and it's just a quick little licking of their nose. And dogs often do this when, we're doing something to them or we're doing whatever and they're a little bit uncomfortable. Take these things with a grain of salt. You're not constantly stressing out your dog, but when it comes to, certain interactions with them, they do communicate when they're uncomfortable. And so definitely look for that nose lick. And we're going to go over a couple of videos together tonight. So you'll see what those look like. Yawning and panting are also signs of stress. So it's good to kind of have these noted down. And so it takes time to just be able to start seeing them, especially if you are not familiar with signs of stress in dogs. So it is an acquired skill. It takes lots of practice looking at dog videos. But once you start seeing them more, you see them forever. Those funny videos or those cute videos that you see on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Unfortunately, it's a curse of knowledge and they're not so cute anymore because you realize how stressed out most of these dogs are in these videos. Anyways, these are common signs of stress. And so, what happens when those signs of stress are not understood? Our dogs will probably go to something a little bit more extreme. So I often call these the more extreme signs of stress. So with nail care, your dog will be pulling their paw away to say like, I'm not, no, not okay with this. They can also be trying to run away or hiding. They can be trembling, so they're literally shaking in fear, which is very sad to see. And so oftentimes when we're working with our dogs, and you might have noticed this when, let's say you go out for a walk and you're training with treats, or you go to the vet and you're trying to give them treats during their vet care, and they suddenly stop taking food, it's probably because they hit their threshold and they're over it now. And so when dogs are too stressed, they usually won't eat. And so when they stop taking treats, this is a clear sign that they are really not okay. And so these signs of stress will usually be presented before the next three: growling, snapping, and biting. Those are three of the more extreme signs that they'll use often as a last resort. But dogs with a lot of experience with situations that make them uncomfortable, they start to realize that certain signs of stress and trying to communicate that with you doesn't work. And so they will resort to those last three, which is growling, snapping, and biting. And so we really want to focus on the ones from the previous slide. So I'll go back so you can take a look at them again. So we really want to focus on these signs before our dog gets to the point where they're so uncomfortable that they need to resort to growling or snapping at us or even biting. So that's it. We're going to look at a couple of videos together of dogs in nail care. So they're getting their nails done and kind of what those signs of stress look like. So this first video is of a little doggy. I'm not sure what they're doing. Maybe it's like a photo shoot, but okay. So I'm gonna play the video again, and I would just like you to shout out in the chat box, what signs of stress do you see? So we're gonna look at it again. So let me know if you notice anything, any signs of stress in this little dog. panting, nose lick. Yep. Yeah, I'll play it one more time for you guys so you can really take a look at that. He's so cute too. Yep. Yeah. Dilated pupils. Yeah, so I don't put all the signs of stress that I see because, you know, for regular pet parents, you're not going to be noticing all these fine details, so definitely just like the big ones. But you guys are awesome and definitely yes, you got them all. So, Doggo's ears were pulled back slightly. He was panting a lot, licked his nose, he was pulling his paws away, he was avoiding eye contact, and you see that whale eye, so just like the white in his eye. So, yep, this dog was not okay with whatever this person was doing. So, we're gonna look at another video. And again, please shout out what signs of stress that you see. Oh, that's a little munchkin. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. You guys are all amazing. Yeah, so look at the video one more time so you can really take a look at it. Yeah, yeah. Yep, so there was, yep, that small little snap, the little bite. So he did lots of blinking, his ears were slightly pulled back, he licked his nose, or she, sorry, I don't know, I shouldn't say he or she. So they were licking their nose, they were pulling their paw away, they tried to bite the nail clipper, and at the end you saw the dog cowering. So I chose these two videos because these are probably signs of stress or how nail care might be going for most of you. So just a little bit uncomfortable, pulling their paws away, maybe even trying to like nibble on the nail clipper a little bit. So this is probably what most of you are experiencing anyway, and this is why that's why I chose these two videos. Yeah, you guys are really good at noticing those signs of stress. And for those of you who are maybe too shy to chime in or you're unsure, like I said before, noticing signs of stress is an acquired skill and it takes lots of practice. So when you're just interacting with your dog or watching your dog interact with their environment, just watch them and see what signs of stress you notice. Look at the signs that I mentioned on the previous slides and see if there's things you're starting to pick up on. And like I said, it takes time to really train your eye to start noticing these things. And then once you have it, curse of knowledge, cute videos on the internet, no longer cute. So I also want to include some videos of dogs who were more comfortable with nail care. Good job. So here's a video of Jojo by Lizzie. So this is one of my colleagues with her dog. And you see Jojo's not being restrained. They're sticking around. You see those licks, but I would probably think it's the treats that making them lick their tops. So you see the difference compared, you know, when you compare Jojo to the other two dogs. Good job. You know, she's picking his nails and he's just sticking around. So this is kind of what nail care should look like. I have one more video. Yeah, he's engaged. He's willingly participating. I'm sure he can move away if he wants to. And when we give our dogs a choice, it really helps reduce that stress. So we're gonna look at another video. This is a video of Harlow. I took this a few weeks ago. I actually posted this on social media and I got lots of messages because of this video. So he's gonna just chop his nails and he's sticking around. You see that he's on leash, but he's actually on a 30-foot leash, so he can definitely leave if he wants to. He's not pulling away. Very soft eyes, very soft. licking those chops when he sees the treats. And of course he is drooling. Yeah. So this is what nail care should look like. It should be not entertaining. It should be boring. You know, nothing, no theatrics. You know, sometimes I see videos on the internet and it just makes me grind my teeth. So this is what nail care should look like. And I know it's not the case for most of you, but we're here to help you reach your nail care goals. So it's all about knowing where you should start. So this will depend on what your dog is comfortable with right now. Can you show them the nail clipper? For a lot of dogs, they see the nail clipper and they're gone. Can you just touch their paws? Even without the nail clipper or any tool, can you touch their paws? So a lot of dogs don't like their paws being touched. Can you touch their paws with the nail clipper? So it's just asking yourself these questions and seeing, okay, where is my dog in this process? So you can write in the chat box, let me know where you're starting from. So write 1 if your dog runs away when you take out the nail clipper, 2 if your dog constantly pulls their paws away, 3 if they try to bite or growl when you do their nails, or 4 you just have a new dog or a new puppy and you want to start them off on the right paw. Got lots of 2s, 2, 3, 1. Use a Dremel, that's great. Oops. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so I guess we're all on the same boat. And you can see what other people are typing too. Lets you know you're not alone. A lot of people are experiencing the same thing you are. Whether you have a new puppy, you're just anxious to make sure that it goes well. Your dog's constantly pulling their paw away, and especially if they have dark nails, you know, you're at higher risk of hitting that vein. Your dog's trying to bite you or growl at you. It's not pleasant. It's not fun. It's stressful. So you can see a lot of people are in the same boat that you are. So let's say you show your dog the nail clipper and they run. You can't even take it out of the closet because they start, you know, showing all these signs of stress. So let's say your dog cowers, they're trembling, they're pulling their ears back, they hide, and they start panting. Well, if this is the case, your dog is nowhere near ready for you to start clipping their nails. And so my suggestion would just be to start with a new tool. And you can always go back to the nail clipper afterwards, but starting with a new tool is really beneficial to help you get started with being able to do their nails. So I would just start with a new tool instead of using the nail clipper. Let's say you touch your dog's paws. Now this is without a nail clipper. And your dog pulls their paws away, they pull their ears back, they avoid eye contact, or they even go to the point of growling and showing their teeth at you. And this is just trying to touch their paws. Well, then again, they're not ready for any tool to be used on their nails. So my suggestion would be to start with simple body handling exercises to get them comfortable with being touched and lightly restrained. And then you can move on to a new tool. So speaking of tools, what tool should you use? We can use a nail file, we can use a Dremel, we can use a nail clipper. We can also use a scratch board. So I didn't mention that here, but a scratch board essentially is a piece of sandpaper, like on like a clipboard, and getting your dog to paw at the clipboard with the sandpaper and having them grind down their nails themselves. So that's always a possibility. But for now, I'm going to just talk about the nail file, the Dremel, and the nail clipper. Yeah, Scratchboard's a big nail file. Okay. So the nail clipper. The nail clipper is probably the quickest way to maintain your dog's nails. If you do use a nail clipper, make sure to buy a new and sharp nail clipper. So most dogs have had scary experiences with the nail clipper, and so it may be harder to work on this, or if you start with this, it might be a little bit more difficult and progress could be a little bit slower. With a nail clipper, you're at high risk of pinching their nail and as well as hitting that vein. So when I talk about buying a sharp new nail clipper, this is why. So you can imagine that your dog's nail is that tomato. So if you're using a dull old nail clipper, and that's kind of what the above tomato would look like, that would be your dog's nail. So you can imagine how uncomfortable and it would actually pinch their nail and hurt versus if it's really sharp and it just cleanly just goes through it. Okay. So really invest in a new nail clipper. There's so many different kinds that you just have to find the one that works best for you. Um, I've tried so many over the years. The one that I have, I should have put the brand, but it's called Safari. I think I bought it on Amazon or a store around here sells it. I can't really remember. It's been a couple years, but you just have to try different nail clippers. So I bought a whole bunch, and there's a whole bunch that I just end up giving away because I don't like them. I don't like the way it feels in my hand and the control. I don't have a lot of control over it. So you'll find the one that works best for you. Next is a Dremel. So a Dremel is an electric nail file. So it's novel, which means most dogs never had an experience with it. And in turn means it's easier to create a positive association. So there's no negative. You're starting fresh, clean slate. So it's easier to create those positive associations. It doesn't pinch the nail, and you're at no risk of hitting the vein. And it makes those nails super smooth, which I really love. The downfall is that it makes noise and it has a vibrating sensation on the nail, which is off putting to a lot of dogs. But if you take your time and you go really slow, you'll be able to go through the nail training plan with the Dremel, no problem. So I actually use the Dremel on my dog's nails. And they were initially not too keen on it. I just took my time, went back a couple steps, reworked it, and it works wonders. And I love that it smooths out the nail. Next is a nail file. There's all different kinds. There's ones that are made out of cardboard. There's ones that are made out of like metal or something. And just like the Dremel, it's novel. So most dogs don't have an experience with the nail file. So it's easier to create those positive associations. It doesn't pinch the nail. There's no risk of hitting the vein. It also makes those nails nice and smooth, and it's perfect for starting and maintaining your dog's nails. And this is where I suggest starting with the nail file because your dog hasn't had any experience with it, and there's a lot less risks. There's no noise, no hitting the vein, no pinching their nail. So let me know what nail care tool you have been using. Let me know if it's been a nail clipper, Dremel, nail file. You can use the number so you don't have to type the whole thing out. Or if you've been using a scratch board. So what's the tool that you've been using? Nail clipper, scratch boards, a lot of scratch boards. That's awesome. Dremel on the scratch board. Great. So for those of you who use a nail clipper, only a nail clipper, after going through these last couple of slides, do you think you're going to be changing which tool you're going to be using after seeing, you know, the pros and cons to each tool? Probably switch. Yeah, it's honestly, it's worth it. And you can always go back to the nail clipper. That's what I did. So I started with just a nail file and just getting them comfortable with it. And then, like I said in that slide, the nail clipper is just the quickest way to maintaining their nails. So I did go back to the nail clipper, but I did start with the file. And I always use the Dremel. It's always like a little touch up to make those nails nice and smooth. Yeah, great, you guys, super. Okay, so I want to mention that I do have a self-paced nail care course that is going to be launching October 5th. So this course is suitable if you are a new puppy parent, if your dog is terrified of nail care, if you're just interested in cooperative care and making nail care less stressful for you and your dog. So it's a self-paced course. It's on pre-launch right now. So the price is 39 Canadian, and after it launches, it's going to go up to regular price at 59. So if you are interested in the course, I'm going to post the link in the comments. Let me see if I can get this to work. There you go. So you can check that out if you're interested. And like I said, it's 39 Canadian and it's going to go up after it launches to 59. All right, let's continue. So how do we create a positive association? And that's what nail care is all about, making it positive, making it fun, and just reducing that stress in our dogs. So we want that potentially scary stuff predicts fun stuff like delicious food and happy talk. So happy talk is that like little squeaky voice that we do when we see our dog. So we want scary stuff to predict good stuff is going to happen. We also want to help them feel safe, and we want to give them a choice to participate. So this in turn will help create positive associations and really make nail care so much easier for both of you. So here's an example. You take out the nail file and your dog is, yippee, cheese. And this is how we create positive associations using food, really delicious food. So I suggest auditioning with your dog and seeing what their favorite treats are, and then bringing that out when you do nail care. So we're going to work on a first exercise together. And so what you will need for this exercise is a pen, a marker, nail file, and bite-sized high-value treats. So I chose a nail file for this video. If you want to use a nail clipper or a Dremel instead, you definitely can, but the video is just going to show the nail file, and we're going to go through that exercise together. So our objective is to create that positive association that the nail file predicts cheese. And so that will help our dogs be like, woohoo, this is wonderful. Okay, so you've created positive associations before. It's not that difficult. So for example, the leash means walkies. When we pick up that leash, or we say, do you, and are their ears perk up? And they know exactly what we're talking about. And they get all excited. They jump off the couch and they're just going bananas on us. That's a positive association to a leash. Same thing with their bowl for dinner. You grab their bowl, or you go towards the spot where their food is, or maybe at a certain time, and they know dinner's coming. That positive association was made to the bowl. And now we're going to do the same thing to the nail file. The nail file equals cheese. So here's how the exercise works. We're going to show each object to our dog one at a time. When we show them the pen, nothing happens. Show them the marker, nothing happens. And then we show them the nail file, and we're just going to happy talk and give them a couple pieces of really delicious food, and then we're going to repeat that exercise randomly. So we'll probably show them the pen again, then the marker, then the pen, then the nail file, and then the marker, then the nail file, and then the pen, and the pen again, nail file. So we really want to make it random. Our sessions will not be more than 3 to 5 minutes at a time. So short sessions really make a big impact. You don't have to train for half an hour to create positive associations. You really can keep them short, 3 to 5 minutes, even less than that if you want. How many sessions? You can do it like once a day, not even every day. A little goes a long way. Honestly, it really does. So let's take a look at the video. Should start here. There you go. So pen and marker, nothing happens. Nail file, I happy talk and give a few treats. So here I'm showing Maggie the marker. I show her the pen. Show her the marker. Our dogs like to target their nose on stuff, so that's why she touches it. I don't know if you can hear me talking in the video. Can Can you hear me talking in the video? Anyone? Just confirm. Yes, okay.
Good girl, Marty, so good.
I show her the pen. This is after a few minutes, and she's like, ugh, I know nothing happens. Yeah, it's Maggie. So I'm really trying to show her that pen and marker. Ugh, nothing happens. But man, that nail file is something.
Look at good. File. He's in the trees. He's in the nail file. Yeah, the nail file.
Okay, so this is at the end of our session. Pen, marker, nail file. Nail file. I apologize for my annoying voice. So, I think my positive association was made. I don't know about you guys, but that little tail wag at the end was pretty clear to me that she's like, oh yeah, when that thing comes out, good stuff happens. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to learn that when I take the nail file out, good stuff happens. So this way, when she sees me taking it out, instead of hiding or instead of being like, oh no, I want her to be like, oh yay, yippee. Just like when we take out their leash. I want ideally that sort of reaction, but it doesn't have to be that enthusiastic. It can just be like, oh, where's the food? And that's enough. And so that where's the food reaction would be them looking towards your hand, maybe looking towards your treat pouch and being like, okay, well, is the food coming? And that's a positive association as well. So they don't need to wag their tail or be super enthusiastic and excited, but just where's the food? And that's enough. Here you go, you guys. Dark nails. So when it comes to dark nails, it's a source of anxiety for most of us with our dogs who have dark nails. And so if you're clipping your dog's nails, depending how big your dog is or how small they are, you might be tempted to just take off a big chunk. And so you're just trying to look at their nail and you're just putting the nail clipper over their nail, trying to guess, okay, where that vein is. And this is where we make big mistakes. So I actually don't suggest cutting your dog's nails like this. So if you want to use a nail clipper, there is definitely a better way. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do multiple small cuts. So instead of taking that one big chunk off, you're going to do 3, 4 smaller cuts. And so if your dog is not super comfortable with nail care, obviously it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You know, when you're taking off a big chunk, it's just one and done, that's it. But again, you're at high risk of hitting that vein. So the best thing to do is to get them comfortable with nail care and do small multiple cuts. So once you get to a certain point, like let's say for this dog, I would cut to that last line and I would move on to a Dremel or a nail file. So I'd want to get it short enough so it's not touching the floor, but then I will move on to a Dremel or a nail file just to make sure that I don't hit that vein. And that's why. If your dog is super comfortable with the nail clipper and it's just those dark nails that are driving you bananas, like I said, just the small clips of their nail rather than one large one. And then moving to that Dremel will just remove the stress of hitting their vein. Frequent nail cutting is known to reduce the size of the quick, which is the vein in their nail. So cutting their nail and then just maintaining it with the Dremel is super helpful. If the sound or the vibration is off-putting and you don't really feel like training it, you can definitely just switch to a nail file and just file their nails as often as you can just to maintain it. So this way you don't have to cut them as often. I've hit the 4 times already. Oh, yeah. I've been there. I've hit it too, and it's sucks. I feel so bad after. But like I said, just doing those small cuts is just a great way to make sure that we don't hit the vein in their nail. And then just switching over to a Dremel or a nail file is a great way to continue and maintain. So, okay. So again, I want to just quickly mention my online course. So it is suitable for any of you who are new puppy parents, or if your dog is terrified of nail care, or you just want to make nail care less stressful and you're interested in cooperative care. So it's a really great course to help you make nail care less stressful. So my goal is really to make nail care as simple as possible. So there are detailed modules on body language, how to be successful with your training, how to teach a stationing behavior, which means teaching your dog to lay down for nail care. We go over body handling exercises, and I go through each tool. So the nail file, the Dremel, and the nail clipper in detail. So they're step-by-step videos and easy to follow plans. So they're like little checklists. Step 1 done, step 2 done, and you go through the course like that. And so all the methods are fear-free, based on positive reinforcement. And this is all to help you be successful with your nail care. So again, the course is on pre-launch, so it's coming out October 5th. The price is $39 Canadian, but it is going to go up after the 5th to $59. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box one more time for you, and you can take a look at that if you're interested in helping your dog feel better about nail care. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now. I am going to go through the chat. I'm going to go through the chat and see the questions that I missed. So let me know if I don't end up answering your question that was back at the beginning. So one person wrote that their dog excreted her glands, so her anal glands, at the groomer during the nail care, and assuming this is a fear response. Yep. So that is definitely could be a fear response. Oh, poor doggy. I wonder how the rest of the grooming went. But yeah, and signs of stress, like I said, there's a list this long. And so it might be really beneficial to just kind of look some up. I cover it in my online course as well. We go into more detail on what signs of stress are. But yeah, that definitely looked like it could have been a sign of stress. Sometimes I have a hard time distinguishing whale eye from him just looking up at me. So sometimes when we're looking at our dog and they're showing signs of stress, or we're not sure if it's a sign of stress, it's good to look at what's going on and their overall body language. So if you see them kind of looking at you like this, what's their ear position? Is their body kind of cowering, or are they just in a regular body posture that they always do? It's important to look at the overall body language and to see if you notice other signs of stress. But of course, if they're laying on their side and their head's there and you're over here working on their nails and they're looking at you, obviously there might be some sort of whale eye in there. So I would look at other signs of stress as well. I hope that answered your question. I'm gonna keep going down. What's the lifetime of a nail clipper, or how can we test if it's still sharp? Oh, Kimberly answered. Yeah, clipping skewers. That's a good idea. Usually when I'm clipping my dog's nails and I realize like the clip should have been a lot easier than it was, and I know, okay, it's time to throw them out. Yeah. The nail file brand that I use, I just buy like a value brand from the dollar store because I go through them so quickly. but there are different types out there. You can audition which ones work best for you and your dog. So there's different kinds. There's one made out of metal that are probably a little bit more durable and longer lasting. So you can try those. But I just use like a regular value brand, and it's just really like the nail file that I'm doing with my dogs currently is just to maintain. And either way, it's a great way to start your nail care. Like I mentioned before, you can always switch to the nail file or not the nail file, the Dremel or the nail clipper after you've worked on the nail file. Just getting them used to having their paws handled with a tool, of course. Okay, so please bear with me. I'm going all the way at the top. How coarse does the nail file want to be? I'm guessing it's saying have to be. Honestly, I just get a regular value brand. I don't think it really tells me what the grit is on it. I have it here. It doesn't say. It's just like a regular nail file. It's not super coarse, but it does do a good job. So when I clip my dog's nails and then I file them down, they're pretty smooth afterwards. Start buttons. Will I be talking about start buttons in my course? No, I try to not make anything too complicated or talk about too many things. But with any of my courses, I also have an online puppy course. I'm always adding to it. So if I see that it could be really beneficial for a lot of people, I definitely could add it. How do you know when your pup's nails are too long? Does being a city dog walking on concrete negate the need to cut nails? So I would think it would have to do it at least once a month. For my dogs personally, I cut their nails and maybe 2-3 weeks later they're long again. So you definitely have to see how fast your dog's nails do grow. I think the rule of thumb is about every month, do it at least once. But I do think walking on concrete helps file them down. And so when they're too long, it could be when you hear that clicking sound on the ground. Obviously, if you have carpet, it's not as easy to hear, but we don't want the nail, if they're just standing, regular standing, we don't want the nail to be touching on the ground. And especially if it's too long and they're walking, their gait and how they walk is going to be compromised because of how their nails are, and it's uncomfortable for them to stand on it. So we don't want it to touch the ground. What is the best Dremel to buy? The Dremel that I bought it like 4 or 5 years ago, and honestly, it's the best one, and I can't find it. I think I have it here. Obviously, there's no name to it, but it's just a regular Dremel. It's electric, and the file parts, I've never changed it in 5 years, just to give you an idea. And I use it all the time. I just need to change the batteries, but it works really good. So just any kind of value brand of a Dremel works really well for your dog's nails. There's all kinds out there, so you might want to just shop around and see what's best. If you're shopping online, definitely look at reviews and see what other people suggest. Okay. I hope I answered your question. Happened twice now, but not every time. So if we get the specific groomer, definitely. So this is about the dog whose anal glands kind of let go. If it's happened more on one occasion, you can kind of guess that this response to nail care is definitely fear and anxiety. How do you get them to scratch the board if they hate their paws touched? So this is actually a really cool way to get them to do their own nails. So you teach them how to give a paw. So you can look online on videos on YouTube on how to do that. And just being able to teach them to give their own paw. So even when I ask my dogs to give a paw, I don't even ask them to put them in my hand. I just say give a paw and they just throw their paw at me. And so you would have them do that to a clipboard with sandpaper on it. So I think there's videos online. If I have a lot of requests for it, I'll add it to my online course. But yeah, it's pretty cool just to get them to do it themselves. Okay, so I live alone with my dog, and due to the pandemic, no one to help hold her and distract her while cutting her nails. Bought a grooming table. I can get a few nails done, but she gets stressed, but not aggressive. Do you think using the table every day might help her get used to it as a routine? So if you have um, if you want to use like a table, especially if you have a little dog and it's a little bit easier for you to see, um, definitely it could work really well. And just getting them comfortable with being on the table. So you can lift them up, place a couple pieces of food, they finish eating it, you take them down, and that's it. So the same type of thing as we did with the nail file exercise, where just nail file equals cheese, table equals cheese, and just kind of get them comfortable with being up there. And then you can go through the steps to getting them comfortable with actually being handled. You can do it with them on the table, and then with your tool of choice, whether nail clipper, file, or the Dremel. I hope that answered your question. Let me know if it didn't. Um, okay. When starting out and your dog was okay with the tool, did you just start with one nail at a time? This is a great question. So when I started with my dog's nail care, I was happy with being able to do one nail at a time. If I got one nail done in a sitting, I was happy, where he wasn't showing signs of stress and he wasn't panicked. And sometimes when they start like twitching their paw or pulling their paw away, it's them saying like, okay, they're done. So I usually get away with doing one nail, and I would do like a good job. I would take a couple clips at a time. I'd use the Dremel on it. And then when I started doing the second nail, they're like, no, mm-mm, no, it was enough for one day. And that's okay. So I would just do one a day. And then at some point, he would let me do two a day, and then three. And then all of a sudden, I can do all four paws in one sitting. And that's nail clipper and Dremel, just to give you an idea. But definitely, I did start out with just being able to do one nail. And you'll see how your dog tolerates it. So he's the one who dictates whether we continue or not, right? We want him to be, I want them to be comfortable with this interaction. So if you're able to do one nail, great. You can try doing the second one. And if they pull their paw away, they're saying, no, thank you. And that's just respect their boundaries and do another nail another day. And then at some point, when you see that you're respecting your dog's body language, or when they're uncomfortable, they'll start letting you do a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And then before you know it, you can do all their nails in one sitting. Hope that answered your question. Um, when we have gotten to me touching his nails with the clippers, but definitely not have gotten down the paw grab nail touch treat without letting go. I think, I don't know if I read that properly. We have gotten to me touching his nails with the clippers, grab, nail touch. Yeah, so sometimes, especially when we're like both hands are occupied, so we have their paw in our hand, and then we're touching their nail. They're like, oh, where's the food? Because our hands are occupied, so that can be a little bit difficult for some dogs. And so you would want to go probably to a point where they're a little bit more comfortable. So not necessarily holding their paw, but you can just like lightly touch their paw and touch their nail or their paw with the nail clipper, and just have your paw like your hand touching their paw, and then be ready with a treat right away. But sometimes if they're not ready, then I would just go back to just touching, treat, and then I would try and go back to hold, touch, treat. And so you can just adjust depending how they feel. Hope that answered your question. So I can't look at the links without it closing the chat box. So I won't be able to look at them, but okay. Thanks, answered. Okay, so last two questions. How do I prevent my dog from biting the clippers? My dog always wants to chew it. So is your dog biting it because they're uncomfortable, or they're biting it because it's a puppy and they just like to bite on everything? This is for Barbara. At some point, the nails need to be cut. Oh, okay, so I'll answer the next question. At some point, the nails need to be cut, though. So if the dog won't agree, is it really bad to do it anyway? Obviously, if your dog's nails were super neglected, not because you're awful, it's just sometimes it's just nail care is so stressful that we kind of let go their nails because it's not fun for us. It's very stressful and very difficult. So let's say your dog's nails are touching the ground or even starting to curl. Obviously, we need to get them done. Um, I don't suggest just holding them down and doing it. You can actually probably bring your dog to the vet and have them maybe medicated for that. But if you're able to hold them in your arms and cut their nails really quickly, and even though they struggle a little bit, you can just kind of maybe get it one and done. And then from there on out, try and maintain it with a nail file and a Dremel and start your training and just go through the process. But you can probably ask your vet to do it for you and have them medicate your dog if it's really, really uncomfortable and stressful and scary for them. They're biting because they're uncomfortable. Okay, so when you go through a training plan for nails, and especially like something that would be presented in my course, we want to make sure that they're comfortable. So if they're comfortable with wherever you are in your nail care plan, they won't be biting it. They won't be showing signs of stress because obviously they're not stressed about it. So let's say if they're biting because you're clipping their nail, well, maybe we'll go back a couple steps. Maybe we'll try just touching their paw with the nail and feed a treat. Touch their nail, feed a treat, or touch their paw, feed a treat. If they're biting the nail clipper at that point, I would go to the exercise that we saw in the presentation where we're just presenting it and feeding to create that positive association, and then start over with touching them and then trying to use it on their nail. Good, great. All right, everyone, that's all the questions. There's no more. Thank you all so much for coming. It was a pleasure. I hope I was able to help you just get started on your dog's nail care and get a little bit more insight on how to help them feel better. Thank you all so much.